Leaked Google engineer memo warns that big tech could lose AI race to the little guys. We're going to jump right into this article. Just a side note, wouldn't it be nice, when they refer to the little guys, they're talking about open source AI, which is a company that's currently valued at I think around $30 billion, given all the capital they've raised based on the evaluation points that they're going for in the raising of the capital. So wouldn't it be a great day if your at-home business was considered a little guy and you were valued at 30 billion? Just think about that for a second, and just speaks to the copious amounts of money floating around in these organizations. But anyways, let's jump right into this. A leaked memo from a Google employee makes a bold claim that's taking hold in Silicon Valley and beyond. Big tech's advantage in artificial intelligence is shrinking quickly. The memo, published Thursday on the website for the tech research firm SemiAnalysis, soon became a top story on AI forums, including the popular Hacker News message board and Reddit's machine learning community, which has more than 2.6 million members and sparks commentary from some of the biggest names in AI. A Google spokesperson confirmed the memo was authentic, but said it was the opinion of one senior employee, not necessarily the company as a whole, which we do know that the company has open company message boards and emails that float around from time to time where staff can communicate openly about their feelings and thoughts on a subject, and not face repercussion. Most of the time, we've seen that kind of backfire tremendously in other areas. I'm not going to get into that, but it's always come up in the news, and people get publicly crucified for chiming in certain points in this. But with this particular subject, he was talking about AI. He says, "We've done a lot of looking over our shoulders at OpenAI," the memo said, "but the uncomfortable truth is we aren't positioned to win this arms race, and neither is OpenAI." And essentially, it comes down to the talk about open source, which Elon Musk has been very open about. He recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson talking about how the open source coding and stuff for these kinds of things is what it needs to remain, because that's going to allow the evolution of this stuff to get kicked further down the road and not get tied up in financing and funds and all of these different things. He actually continues right here. "I'm talking, of course, about open source. Plainly put, they are lapping us." It continued, "While our models still hold a slight edge in terms of quality, the gap is closing astonishingly quickly. Tech companies spent years developing AI in a behind-the-scenes arms race, only to see OpenAI burst onto the scene with the release of ChatGPT. Other generative AI systems, which can create content based on a user's prompt, have skyrocketed in popularity and quality. OpenAI announced a massive deal with Google competitor Microsoft in January. In response, Google rushed to release its counterpart program, Bard. And while those companies are working to integrate AI into many parts of their existing businesses, that doesn't mean that technology will further solidify their grip on the tech industry." The Google employee wrote that both Google and Microsoft have neglected the growing community of programmers and companies that rely on publicly available AI code and models, referred to as open source, to create smaller but more efficient projects. Some experts and industry analysts agreed with the memo's warning. Karpathy, an OpenAI founder who rejoined the company in February, wrote on Twitter Saturday that the surge of small AI companies competing with tech giants was starting to massively shake up the industry. You do see industry shakeups like this. I mean, you see it all the time when it comes to, new technology, new stuff taking place, new directions for companies, new ideas. I think the scary part about these types of things with tech-related stuff is that there's so much money involved. Obviously, in throughout time, you've had massive oil companies and massive steel companies and all these different things where new companies would rise up and it would shake up, and I think it would probably be this very slow process. There was all this money involved, so it was much harder for anyone to enter into that industry. In tech, it's really interesting because we're starting to see like these other companies come up, and there's tons of money involved, and it moves so quickly, and they can't even keep up with it, right? And it just keeps going crazy and crazy and crazy and crazy, and now you have all of these tech guys coming out that have been in the industry for years saying, "Oh, I'm not happy with what I've done. I'm this is not good. I don't think we thought about this. I mean, it's just going so fast that even the big guys with all the money can't keep up with it. Now, and that's not to say they're going to get taken out, because a lot of times what you'll see when you look at the investor lists of who's actually invested in these new companies, it's a lot of the guys at the top, or at least on the boards, or at least are big investors in these other big companies. I mean, it's all kind of tied together, being like Peter Thiel and all these different people that are, dropping money into these different organizations. It's not like, they're going anywhere, and they've got their hands in both pots. So, Google is a massive company, and it's in control of a lot of different things. So, it says here that ecosystem is experiencing early signs of a Cambrian explosion, he wrote, a reference to a period of Earth history more than 500 million years ago, marked by rapid and diverse evolution of life. This is where we're kind of in the wild, wild west of this stuff. It's kind of like it almost feels like crypto, but not, in the sense of there's all these different things popping up and all these different resources popping up. And, obviously, like, AI is on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. Everybody is talking about it. So it's a trending topic, and we don't really know where it's all going to land. I feel like you're going to have a bunch of different companies creating a bunch of different products. The article goes on to later on explain and talk about how they're building smaller AI models, and they're figuring out ways for them to be useful without having to have so much data collection, or an immense amount of data collection, such as ChatGPT. And I think that, because of the fact that it's on the tip of everyone's tongue, there's going to be a lot of excitement generated around all these different AI models. But will these AI models prove to be something that's impactful in everyday life, such as ChatGPT has proven to be to a degree? Like, meaning, like, there are so many companies utilizing the tool, there's so many people finding use from it. All of these other models, will there be people finding use from it, or will it be more of a tool or an item that you use for enjoyment, rather than a tool or an item that you use for work? And so that's just my personal thoughts on it. It's like, we'll kind of see where it all lands. I mean, look at how much crypto is out there, and look at how much crypto is completely worthless or useless, and will never really be any use to anyone, or the project just dies out eventually because the hype dies out. And so I think generally that's kind of what you're seeing, especially with open source stuff. But what the open source community can do is force more innovation and force these companies to keep up with it, which kind of seems like they're recognizing that. The open source AI community received a giant and unexpected gift earlier this year when an unknown person leaked Facebook owner Meta's equivalent to ChatGPT. I guess it's called Llama. I might be wrong on that, which still has not been formally introduced to the public onto the message board 4chan. That leak gave open source AI programmers a foundation for their own more customized projects. It's like watching this battle happen in real time, and it moves so quickly. It's just crazy to watch these guys. The world, I was thinking about it earlier this week, the world that these guys live in kind of sucks in that sense, like how fast things change and how fast paced it has to be. And maybe they're constantly plugged in, so they're constantly able to keep up with it. But to me, it just seems like a way too fast moving machine, and you're constantly having to keep up with these changes and all this stuff. And someone like Meta with Mark Zuckerberg, it's like, hey, this thing you've been working on for the past year, you got to stop that now and focus on this other thing, otherwise your whole company is going to be taken out. So it's a crazy world for that to happen. So and I know that happens all the time in other industries, but for it to happen so fast, I think is just the craziness of it. So a key point lies in how much data is needed to train an AI system, once considered a major challenge for smaller developers. Simon Willison, a programmer and tech analyst and blogger, told NBC News that while OpenAI's flagship product ChatGPT 4 is still leading the industry, not every AI product needs to be built on the massive troves of data that it has been until now. I don't think I need something as powerful as GPT-4 for a lot of things that I want to do, Willison said. I want models that can do the thing that Bing and Bard does, where if it doesn't know something, it can run a search. Which I think, I don't know. we'll see how this plays out and what they're trying to do here. The open question I have right now is, how small can the model be while still being useful? He said that's something which the open source community is figuring out really, really quickly. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see how this is all playing out, especially having that open source community that's at the same time working on smaller models and trying to make it more efficient. And so we'll kind of see how it keeps everyone on their toes. At the end of the day, though, you still have a $30 billion valuated company that's programming this thing, and it's being used everywhere, and people are paying for it. Big companies are paying for it. And while these guys may create something that might be generally more efficient, the fact that it is open source may still drive other companies away from using it. You may not find as many tech companies that want to use it for their staff's work purposes willing to use open source stuff there versus ChatGPT, which they have to pay for, and it's closed off, and there's a company tied to it that's held accountable and liable for whatever whatever goes wrong. So that's just my thoughts. I'm also not well versed in how what the nuances is of everything. I'm just thinking at it from a corporate level. I know if I was sitting in a room with a bunch of guys who didn't understand what this is and couldn't flesh out exactly how it works or anything like that, they don't understand the nuances. And there was a discussion from a corporate level to incorporate the technology, incorporate the tool into the culture of our work environment. I know that if the concept or the idea was we could either go open source or we can go with ChatGPT, which is a company that has staff and there's accountability there, it will always be go ChatGPT every single time. Every single time. I don't think you're going to find a lot of companies that would be willing to use open source stuff as much unless they are a company with a culture that can understand and embrace what that is and how it works and be comfortable with that. So those are just my thoughts on it. What are your guys' thoughts in the comment section below? Do you think Google could be in the danger zone of losing this AI race, like what this person's saying? I think that it's just gonna evolve in different ways, and I think that eventually you're just gonna see the companies merge or work together. I don't know how Google really could lose out there. I mean, we hear of new tech companies that are gonna quote shake up the industry all the time, and these guys buy them and throw them on ice or merge with them, or they work together. They don't necessarily merge, but they just work together because the same high level people that are overseeing and invested in these big companies are the same high level people that are investing in these smaller companies. So deals are made and stuff continues to roll on. But those are just my thoughts. I'm really curious to see what other people think of this in the comments section. I'm really curious to see, do you think am I wrong about the open source stuff? Maybe there's something I'm missing. I really want to see what people are saying or what they think the future of that's going to be and how that's going to play into the future of ChatGPT. So thank you guys so much. Please make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, share. All those things really help the channel. And I will catch you guys in the next one.